The rain drizzled lightly as Dominique Blake stepped out of her sleek black luxury car, her heels clicking against the marble driveway of the Blake Royale Hotel. She took a deep breath, looking up at the towering structure, her creation. The hotel shimmered under the city lights, a symbol of prestige, power, and elegance. And yet, as she walked through the golden doors, she had no idea she was about to face humiliation in her own empire. Inside, the scent of fresh lilies and expensive cologne filled the air. Dominique adjusted her coat and walked toward the front desk, her presence calm but commanding. Yet, as she approached, the receptionist barely glanced at her. Instead, the young woman's eyes flickered past Dominique as if she were invisible. Dominique cleared her throat. "Good evening. I have a reservation under Blake." The receptionist's fingers paused mid-keystroke. She looked Dominique up and down, skepticism flashing her eyes. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" she asked, her tone clipped and distant. Dominique raised an eyebrow. "Here we go again." "Yes, I'm sure." "Blake." "Dominique Blake." The receptionist exhaled sharply and typed the name in. A few seconds later, her face turned pale. "The owner's suite." She hesitated. "That can't be right." This suite is reserved for the hotel owner." Dominique's lips curved slightly, a smile that held no warmth. "That's interesting," she said, tilting her head. "Because I am the owner." But instead of an apology, the receptionist's face hardened. "I'm going to have to ask for proof," she said. Anyone could say that. The insult burned. Before Dominique could respond, the hotel manager, a tall, middle-aged man with graying hair, stepped forward. He looked at Dominique and smirked, his posture oozing condescension. "Ma'am, we have strict policies. We can't just let anyone claim to be the owner." Dominique exhaled slowly. Her patience was wearing thin. "That's unfortunate," she said, her voice like steel. "For you." Dominique could feel the slow burn of anger creeping in her chest, but she didn't let it show. Years of running a multi-million-dollar business had taught her one valuable lesson: never let them see you sweat. The receptionist looked at her expectantly, arms folded as if daring her to prove herself. The hotel manager, standing beside her, smirked slightly, his expression one of quiet amusement. They didn't believe her. This wasn't new to Dominique. A black woman in power was always questioned, doubted, challenged. But in her own hotel, that was a new level of disrespect. Dominique pulled out her phone with deliberate slowness, keeping her eyes locked on the manager's. She dialed a number. "Lucas, get here. Now." The receptionist shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the manager who crossed his arms over his chest. "Ma'am, I don't know who you think you're calling, but unless you have some real proof." Before he could finish, the grand double doors of the lobby swung open, and Lucas Grant, the regional director, strode in. His face was flushed, his breathing uneven, as if he had run all the way there. "Miss Blake, his voice faltered the moment he saw the situation in front of him. His eyes darted between the receptionist, the manager, and finally Dominique. The manager frowned. Why was the regional director looking at this woman like she was royalty? The receptionist still looked confused, until Lucas nearly tripped over himself in his rush to reach Dominique. "Ms. Blake, I sincerely apologize. Is there an issue?" His voice shook slightly, his forehead slick with sweat. And that was the moment when the reality of the situation sank in for everyone in the room. Dominique wasn't some random woman looking for a free room. She owned the entire hotel chain. A stunned silence fell over the front desk. The receptionist's eyes widened. Her mouth opened and closed as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. The manager took a small, involuntary step back. Now the power had shifted. Dominique let the moment hang in the air, watching as the weight of their mistake crushed them. "Well," she said finally, her voice smooth, controlled. "What were you saying about not letting just anyone claim ownership?" The color drained from the manager's face, and the real reckoning was just beginning. Lucas looked like he wanted to disappear. He swallowed hard, his eyes darting nervously toward the front desk staff before returning to Dominique. "Miss Blake," he said, forcing a weak smile. I didn't realize you'd be arriving tonight. Dominique tilted her head, her expression unreadable. Interesting, she mused. Because I did. And apparently that wasn't enough to get me a room in my own hotel. Lucas flinched. The weight of the moment hung in the air. The receptionist had gone pale, her fingers twitching as she clutched the edge of the counter. The manager, who had been so smug just moments ago, now looked like he was reevaluating every decision he had made in the past 10 minutes. But Dominique wasn't about to let them off the hook that easily. She turned to the receptionist first. "Tell me," she said, her tone deceptively light, "how many guests walk in here every day and request a room?" The receptionist hesitated. "Quite a few, ma'am." "And how many do you turn away?" The young woman swallowed hard. "Only the ones who don't meet our standards." Dominique's expression didn't change, but her silence was heavy. The receptionist realized too late what she had just admitted. "And what standard did I not meet?" Dominique asked, her voice sharp now. The receptionist opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Dominique gave her a long, cold stare before shifting her gaze to the manager. "And you," she continued, "you had a chance to fix this the moment I told you who I was. Instead, you dismissed me and assumed I was lying." The manager's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed. "Miss Blake, I didn't mean any disrespect," he stammered. Dominique took a step forward. "Didn't you?" Lucas cleared his throat, stepping between them, desperate to regain some control of the situation. "Miss Blake, I assure you this is not how we typically handle our guests." Dominique cut him off. "I know exactly how you typically handle your guests, Lucas," she said coolly. "Because I created the policies myself." Lucas looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. The entire lobby was watching now. Guests had begun to whisper amongst themselves. A few pulled out their phones, trying to subtly record the exchange. Dominique noticed. She didn't care. "So let me get this straight," she continued, folding her arms. "I, Dominique Blake, the CEO and owner of this establishment, was turned away at my own hotel because you two assumed I didn't belong here." Neither the receptionist nor the manager dared to respond. Dominique let out a humorless chuckle. "Tell me," she said, leaning in slightly, voice lower but far more dangerous, "if I looked different if I was dressed in a designer suit and walked in here with an assistant trailing behind me, would you have treated me the same way?" The receptionist let out a tiny, shaky breath. The manager averted his gaze. Dominique smirked, but there was no amusement in her eyes. "That's what I thought." Lucas stepped in again, his hands raised as if trying to calm a wildfire. "Miss Blake, please. We will take immediate action. I will personally handle this." Dominique's expression didn't change. "Oh, don't worry, Lucas," she said. "I will be the one handling this." Lucas stiffened. The receptionist visibly trembled. The manager finally broke. "Ms. Blake, please. I can explain," he said, his previous arrogance now completely gone. "It was just a misunderstanding." "No, it wasn't," Dominique interrupted. Her voice sliced through his words like a blade. "You didn't hesitate. You didn't even consider that I could be telling the truth. You saw me, and you made a decision. And that decision was based on your own biases." The manager's face flushed red. "That's not fair," he said weakly. Dominique raised an eyebrow. "Not fair?" she repeated. "Was it fair when you dismissed me? When you threatened to call security? When you refused to even check my identity properly?" The manager had no answer. Dominique took a slow, deep breath and then nodded. "All right then," she said. "Since you both are so committed to following policy, let's make some changes, shall we?" Lucas visibly gulped. The manager's eyes widened in panic. Dominique turned to Lucas first. "Effective immediately, every single employee in this hotel, including management, will undergo mandatory anti-bias and customer service training." Lucas nodded quickly. "Yes, ma'am. Absolutely." Then she turned to the manager. "And as for you," Dominique said, her tone calm but ice cold, "you will spend the next 3 months shadowing front desk employees across all of our locations." The manager's jaw dropped. "Ms. Blake, please," he stammered. "I've been working in hospitality for over 15 years. I don't need." "Clearly, you do." Dominique interrupted. Because a good hotel manager should know how to treat all guests with respect, not just the ones who look like they belong. The manager had no choice but to lower his head. Yes, MS. Blake, he mumbled. Dominique turned to the receptionist next. And you, she said, I want you to personally write a report detailing every step you took from the moment I walked in to the moment you realized who I was. And then I want you to explain what you should have done differently. The receptionist looked on the verge of tears. Yes, Miss Blake, she whispered. Dominique nodded once, then turned back to Lucas. And finally, she said, I expect a full report on every single guest complaint regarding discrimination or mistreatment at this location. Because something tells me I'm not the first person this has happened to. Lucas looked sick. Yes, Miss Blake, he said. Dominique Blake stood alone in the elevator, staring at her reflection in the gleaming golden doors. Her face was calm, but her mind was racing. This wasn't just revenge. It was justice. The next morning, Dominique woke up to a storm. Her phone was buzzing nonstop. Emails, missed calls, news alerts. Her social media post had exploded overnight. Blake Royale was trending. So was Dominique Blake. Headlines screamed, Black CEO denied room in her own hotel. She makes them regret it. She owns the building, but they tried to throw her out. Dominique scrolled through the comments, feeling a mix of validation and frustration. This happens to Black people every day. Glad someone with power is calling it out. I can't believe this still happens in 2025. Actually, I can. Dominique Blake is my new role model. She exhaled, running a hand through her curls. It was bigger than her now. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. She opened it to find Lucas standing there. His suit was immaculate, but his eyes were red-rimmed with exhaustion. Miss Blake, may I come in? She studied him for a moment before stepping aside. Lucas entered, standing awkwardly in the grand suite. I assume you've seen the news, Dominique said, sitting on the couch. Lucas nodded. He looked like he hadn't slept. Miss Blake, he started, his voice tight. This has escalated far beyond the hotel. We're getting calls from corporate partners, investors, even the board of directors. Dominique arched an eyebrow. Good. Lucas swallowed. The manager and the receptionist. They're asking for a second chance. Dominique stared at him, unimpressed. A second chance? She repeated. Did they give me one when they dismissed me at my own front desk? Lucas flinched. Dominique leaned forward, her tone calm but sharp. Let me be clear. This isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. They made a choice. They reinforced a system that keeps people like me, people who look like me, out of spaces we've earned a right to be in. And now they want mercy because they got caught. Lucas didn't answer. I won't fire them, she said finally. Lucas blinked in surprise. But Dominique continued, they're going to work their way back up. The receptionist will spend the next year in customer service training. And the manager? He's demoted. Effective immediately. Lucas's lips parted slightly, but he quickly composed himself. Understood, he said, nodding. Dominique stood, smoothing out her silk robe. Lucas, she added, we're not just fixing this hotel. We're fixing the entire chain. I want a full diversity audit of every location. Every policy is under review. We're setting the standard. Not just because it's good business, but because it's the right thing to do. Lucas straightened his posture. Yes, Miss Blake. I'll get started immediately. As he turned to leave, Dominique stopped him with one final thought. Lucas. He turned back. Let this be the last time something like this happens at Blake Royale, she said. Because next time, there won't be second chances. Lucas nodded grimly. Understood, ma'am. He left, closing the door behind him. Dominique exhaled. She looked out over the city, her reflection staring back at her in the glass. She had built this empire. She had fought for it. She had earned it. And now, she was making sure no one else had to fight the same battle. Her phone buzzed again. Vanessa had sent her a message. CNN wants an exclusive interview. You ready? Dominique smiled. Damn right she was.